Hello and welcome to High Caliber TV, your source for figure and model updates every Wednesday and Friday. So today on the Workbench, I'm going to be doing another update for the Ploegsteert wood diorama that I'm doing. It's by Tommy's War if you're just, tuning in now. So this is one of the figures, this is the officer. And as you can see, he's being heavily countershaded at this point. So as you can see, I worked up the shadows up to his shoulder blades there. Worked a little bit of an angle down the back of his uniform, obviously in between his legs there. On the boots, it's a little irregular just because I wanted it to create that near random look of leather, worn leather, because they aren't going to be polished by any means. Really pleased with the way the counter shading turned out this time. I just used a really low setting PSI and took my time with it basically. So yeah, as you can see, he's basically white if you're looking straight down on him, but if you're looking straight up, it's mostly black. Just show the sergeant to show where he's at. He's at the same stage, and his, whatever that is, that sheepskin, I think it's supposed to be sheepskin or ramskin vest that he's wearing, is going to be interesting. It's a perfect situation for some subtle dry brushing, just to pick out certain areas, and so that's what I'm going to be tackling that with. But I did counter shade, as you can see, as you bend it, it becomes lighter, and then when you look straight down on it, it's almost pure white. Yeah. There's one part that I have neglected to put on, and I wanted to wait until the counter shading was done. It's the connection between the sling on him and the sling attachment buckles on his Lee Enfield at both points. This one's rather small, but this one is a little bit bigger. It's a few millimeters long. So I'm just going to be repeating the same process that I did for the carbine on the OAF tanker from Alpine. And here's the base. It's not in any real state other than that it's had about 4 or 5 coats of pure black and black cut with olive drab. As you can see up here on the top areas, the olive drab really shows through, but the rest of it, it's pretty much pure black. Just because I wanted there to be no primer showing through in any of the crevices before I started painting. I didn't want to get halfway through the detailing only to find that I'd missed a crevice between some pair of sandbags. And this is just where I expended the last bits of the black in the airbrush. The sort of theory I'm working off for this diorama is that I want it to look like it's been raining and it's grimy and gross, and there's a lot of wear and tear incorporated into the detail on this base, like the ripped tarp and just the ratty wood and the duckboards and all that sort of stuff, and all the tears in the sandbags and how they're slouching. So I want to bring that out with a lot of oil rendering and pastel work. Probably a bunch of different filters centered in certain areas and concentrated and used to diffuse some of the sharpness of the detail that's going to be coming out with the airbrush. I don't want there to be any sharp lines on this base. I want everything to look muddled but still have a character to it. So stick around, I'm going to show the next phases. So here's the base as it stands. What I did was I took a number 2 brush and some Citadel Baneblade Brown right out of the bottle with a bit of water added on the palette for flow, and I just hand painted on all of the areas on the sandbags that I wanted the color to be strong, and I also applied it to the areas where I wanted to be able to successfully apply highlights to. Now, this is because I don't feel that if I sprayed on directly onto the black, I would be able to as successfully apply highlights and create a strong enough color contrast. I just it would take too many layers basically, so I just did the expedient thing and hand painted on a few layers up the chain, if you will. Now, the reasoning behind the hand painting, this isn't something that I intended to do from the get-go when I planned out my processes on this build. I backed myself into a bit of a corner by assembling the base before I counter shaded it. What I would do if I could go back and do it again is, before I assembled this back part, I would counter shade it, spraying up and down as you saw with the figures. But now, because the decking's here, I can't actually maneuver the airbrush at such an angle. The airbrush has to be around here, and of course decking's in the way. So that prevents me from applying the shadows, which are the dominant portion of the counter shading. You can apply highlights all you want, but then when it comes to applying the shadows, which you apply after the highlights in the counter shading process, you have to apply them straight on, which negate any highlights that you've done, or it minimalizes them to the point where it's, I mean, they aren't there anymore. So that's a long-winded way of saying that I messed up, and so I just hand painted on the combination base coat and counter shading. So from here, I intend to spray downward and catch all the highlights and build up and vary and create homogeneous yet interesting to look at variation of browns on the sandbags, and bring out the character of the base through that. Now, none of the other sections of the base have been painted at this point, because that would be a waste of time, since I would just have to mask them off and then go at them after all the sandbags are painted. So I'm just gonna skip that and paint them all up by hand once the sandbags are done. So thanks very much for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Pinterest, and Twitter. Check us out at highcaliberminiatures.com. That's our homepage. The site is currently not working, basically. So if you're having any troubles, or you've had troubles in the past, please bear with us. In the next week or the next few days, our brand new website will be launching, and I'll be doing a video just for that. And we have a whole, like, trust me, we have a lot of stock that we've been sort of hoarding. We haven't released fully because we're waiting for the new website to launch. A couple of brand new lines that are new to us that I know figure fans and armor fans will love. We're going to be showing them off and releasing them when the new website launches, just as sort of a hurrah, we have a website that works sort of celebration. So bear with us for that. And to all those of you who have contacted me with your grievances and your hanging on, I really, really appreciate that. Your support is actually really important to us, and we're a small family hobby shop, so yeah, we really, really appreciate it anyway. So thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.